my name is Ayala Connell and I'm a healthy eating coach. Today we're going to learn how to make cauliflower rice. Now cauliflower rice is very simply rice made out of cauliflower. Now of course we're going to add some seasoning and we're going to add a little bit of spices. It'll give it a little bit of color and texture so that it makes it really yummy, scrumptious, delicious. So there's multiple steps, but all very simple. So the first thing you want to do is start with the cauliflower. Now you can definitely take a whole head of cauliflower, which is probably the least expensive option. But what you're going to do is take the florets of the cauliflower, and you can buy, if you're short on time, you can buy a bag of organic cauliflower florets, and you can actually also buy bags of rice cauliflower where they've already been pulverized. But ultimately what you're going to do is put the cauliflower. You can start with maybe a half a head of cauliflower, just the florets, because it kind of fills up the food processor. And what you're going to do is you're going to pulse it over and over again until it turns into rice. Now what you'll find is if some of the pieces are too large, then they're not going to break down. So what you do is you just make them into smaller bits. And this is more commonly when you buy the bags of the florets, because when you're doing it yourself, you can already start by putting them in as smaller pieces. So we'll do it some more. Okay. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the rice and you're going to put it in a bowl. And don't forget to take out the blade so you don't hurt yourself. And you're going to get all of the cauliflower into the bowl. And then with cauliflower, though you might not realize it, it actually has a lot of fluid in it, similar to a zucchini or a cucumber. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually take about a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of salt, and you're going to sprinkle it on. And then you're going to mix it in. And while you're doing this, you'll see the bits that are still large that you can take out so that it makes it easier. And then what you're going to do is you're going to let the cauliflower sit for about 20 to 30 minutes. And the purpose of that is the salt helps to pull the moisture out of the cauliflower. Now while you're doing that, you can set it aside. And then you can cut your onion. So I've got a half an onion here, which is about a good amount. So I'm just going to peel it and chop it into small pieces. And the purpose of that is really to give texture and flavor to the cauliflower rice. You know, cauliflower is a wonderful and very nutritious vegetable, but it can be a little bland at times. So adding things like caramelized onions, some olive oil, maybe some chicken broth or some lemon juice, some various seasoning can help to give it some flavor. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually turn on the stove, and let's see here. Okay, we're going to put it on medium. And we're going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Now, certainly if you're going to do high heat, which we're not, you could use things like extra virgin coconut oil or avocado oil, because you're really just trying to caramelize the onions. So then you're going to add your onions. And then the other thing you can do is put a pinch of salt over it, because that'll help to give more flavor. And you just start to move that around so it's coated in the oil. This is essentially how you caramelize onions. So that's a good lesson in and of itself, because it always adds flavor to things. And then what you can also do to add more flavor is you can take some cumin seeds, whole cumin seeds, maybe a quarter teaspoon or an eighth of a teaspoon, and just sprinkle it over the onions. And then mix it around, because what you're doing is you're also toasting the cumin seeds while you're cooking the onion. Okay? And while you're doing that, the cumin seeds are going to impart a really wonderful fragrance and flavor, and the onions are going to get very soft. And when they become translucent, then you know that they're cooked well enough. If you go a little bit too far, they'll start to get burnt, which can give it a nice, interesting texture and flavor, but it's not ideal for the oil to get burnt because then it becomes a little bit rancid and less healthy for you. So you go and you cook the onions, and then while you're waiting for that, about 20 to 30 minutes in, the cauliflower rice should be ready. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the cauliflower rice and you're gonna put it into either a thin towel, like even thinner than this, but like a tea towel, or you can use what's called a nut bag. So here's a nut bag. Now generally these are white, but you can see that this one has had a lot of use in squeezing the juice out of carrots and out of turmeric root. So it's gotten a little bit of that orange tint, so it means it's very well loved and well used. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the cauliflower rice and you're gonna put it into the nut bag or into your tea towel. And the idea is to squeeze the juice out. Now this just makes it more flavorful and gives it a better texture so it's not too soggy. And you take all of the cauliflower and you put it in the bag. Now these things you can order off of Amazon. There's a ton of places you can get nut bags. You can find them at Whole Foods or other types of cooking stores. And ultimately what you're gonna do is you're just gonna squeeze the liquid out. And you'll see there's quite a bit of liquid that's in cauliflower. So you're gonna go through and squeeze it out until you get most of the liquid out. And then you're done with that step. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take, once the onions are nice and translucent and cooked, and the cumin seeds are imparting a nice flavor, you're gonna then take the cauliflower rice and you're gonna put it in with the onion. And you're going to soften the cauliflower rice. Now the salt helped to soften it some, but now you're going to soften it even more. And this is an opportunity to put in a little bit more seasoning. So what I like to do is add some paprika. Now there's lots of different types of paprika. There's some that are a little bit more spicy and some that are a little bit sweeter. And you mix that in. It also gives it a little bit of nice coloring, so it's not such a bland color. And then I also like to put some fresh cracked pepper in to give it a little bit of a heartier flavor. Now I also have some saffron that's an option. You know how a lot of times you'll see rice, like Spanish rice that's made with saffron. So you can add saffron in to give it some flavor. And then what I'll also do to help steam it a little bit, to give it a little bit more softness, is I'll add a little bit of lemon juice, maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons. And just keep letting it cook down. And then I'll also add a little bit of chicken broth. Okay. So a lot of times we think we have to use the whole jug, and then if we don't, we end up throwing it out. But if you have one in the fridge that you're just constantly using for things like this, you'll go through it pretty quickly. So maybe a half a cup, a third of a cup of chicken stock. It's not an exact amount because it really doesn't matter. The longer you cook it, the more it's going to steam off the liquid and soften the cauliflower rice. You can also raise the heat just a little bit to help. You could cover the pan to help steam it, or you can just keep sauteing it. Now, there are so many benefits to this. Cauliflower has some wonderful health properties to it, but in general, a healthy diet consists of 5 to 7 servings of vegetables a day. So this can give you 1 to 2 servings for your meal. And as an accessory, it can be paired. You can put a protein on it. You can put some beautiful fish or some grass-fed beef or some organic roasted natural turkey or chicken on top of it, and it'll just soak in the juices, and then you can add some other color by putting some broccoli or some sweet potatoes, and it'll just give you more of a complete meal. So let's let this cook for a little bit, and then I'll show you how it's all done and what it looks like when it's complete. Okay, so let's see our complete final project here. So as you can see, I sprinkled some pumpkin seeds on this, and I also chopped a little bit of chives to add a little bit of color and just a little bit of texture and flavor. An added step, you could take the pumpkin seeds and toast them by putting them in a hot oven for a short amount of time with a little bit of sea salt. But ultimately you can see that it has a nice kind of pink orangey color. And this is such a wonderful side. Think about all those rice bowls that you could shift the rice with cauliflower rice. You could put protein on this. There are so many wonderful ways to move away from the less healthy starches and start to substitute with things that are more vegetable based. So let's give it a try. So delicious. It's refreshing. You can taste a little bit of the lemon juice. You can definitely taste some of the cumin, and all the flavors just meld together. And I feel like it's a nice, refreshing way to pair with a beautiful dinner of really any type. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. And for more information and more cooking tips, you can visit my website and just click on the link.